guys, it's Emily, and today I'm here to talk about the last two books I read in February. I figured I'd just get these two talked about and be able to take them back to the library and have a clean, fresh slate for March. So yeah, let's just get right into it. The first book I want to mention is The Zookeeper's Wife by Diane Ackerman. I picked this up on a whim because it came through the book drop while I was working it, and I knew that the movie was coming out. It's coming out on the 31st of March, I think, so it's coming out pretty soon. So I picked this up and read it. This is a nonfiction book, and it details the life and of the Zabinski family, and the Zabinski families were the zookeeper at the Warsaw Zoo in Warsaw, Poland during before and during World War II. And they were Christian, although they weren't that religious, but they were not Jewish or anything. But they began taking Jews into their house and hiding them in the animal pens and hiding them in their storage facilities and doing that. And they were sort of like a way station. They didn't keep people for a long time, but they would keep them for several days or a week or two at the most, so until they could get their papers or until they kind of ride out of the city or the country or whatever. So it wasn't like they kept the same person years and years or anything, but they were basically a way station. I did not enjoy this book, sad to say. I only gave it 2 stars. The reason I didn't enjoy it is because it wasn't focused enough for me. Diane Ackerman had obviously done a lot of research for this book, and she had learned about the Nazi attempts to bring back extinct animals and the resistance movement and this life in the ghetto in Warsaw, and there were all these different topics, and it wasn't she never stuck to one of them long enough to really give you the whole story. It was just a glimpse of it, and then she would move on to a different subject, and then you didn't really get to see that much of the day-to-day life at the zoo. It was more oh, they brought this person, and then this person left, and then this person came, and there was too many people, and you didn't get to know anybody that well, even the members of the family, you didn't feel like you got to know them that well, and so I just felt like it was sort of disjointed. And there's actually a blurb on the back from Jared Diamond, who is the author of Guns, Germs, and Steel, and it says, "This powerful thriller would be a great novel, except that it happens to be true." And so I guess what he's saying is that, it has to be nonfiction because it's not true. But I actually think this would have been better as a novel, like this story, because there would have been more drama, and there would have been less people in it, and you would have gotten to know the people better. So I can't say that I recommend this book. I don't know about the movie, obviously I haven't seen it, but I'm planning to go see it, and hopefully I will enjoy it. But I think it'll actually be better than the book because it'll be more focused, and it'll probably just talk about just the Zabinski family and not all the other topics. Some of what she was talking about was pretty interesting. She talked about, like I said, the Nazis, they wanted to bring back these extinct animals that they felt had been tampered with by Jewish and other intervention and stuff. And so they were really interested in, pure bloodlines and all things, including animals. And so that was pretty interesting. And then she talked about there was this one lady who had a finishing school for Jewish women to teach them to be more like Aaron, and dyed their hair and taught them how to speak and taught them Christian, what you would do at Christian church and things like that. And that part was pretty interesting. But it was just, there were too many events talked about, and this book wasn't that long, and I don't know, I didn't feel like it was as good as it could have been. I felt like it was just average and ordinary, and like I said, 2 stars, and I felt pretty bad about that because I was really excited about the story before I started reading it. So yeah, this was a disappointment for me. The last book I finished in February was An Assembly Such as This by Pamela Aidan, and I had heard about this before. This is considered to be one of the better written, like, Pride and Prejudice fanfic books. You know, there's a lot of those, and I'm a sucker for them. I've read several of them, and I actually read one last year, and yeah, so I figured I'd pick this up. But I actually picked this up because Elena from Eleanor Reed's Books had mentioned that she just bought the 3 books in this series, and so I figured it sort of like triggered my memory. I was like, oh yeah, have been meaning to read that, and so I picked it up from my library. And this is basically Pride and Prejudice from Darcy's point of view, and so you see him arrive at Netherfield, and you see him at the ball when he first meets Elizabeth, and you see him interact with, you know, Miss Bingley and Mrs. Hurst and all those people. I enjoyed this. This was fun, but I didn't feel like it was particularly memorable, and I didn't really feel like it. I didn't really feel interested in going to get the rest of the books. My library only has this first book, and so to read the other 2, I would have to buy them, and I guess I just don't care enough about the series to buy them. You know, it's like I know exactly what happens, and Darcy's point of view wasn't as interesting as I thought it would be. This book ends with him leaving Netherfield, and so you're only like a third of the way through the book, and there's 2 more after this. So I didn't really, I mean, this was fun while I was reading it, but it wasn't something that I felt like compelled to recommend to people or to pick up the other 2. And part of the problem was this edition, it's not made very well, and like, I don't know if you can tell, but the pages are very, like, you have to bend this book way back to be able to see the whole sentence. And I actually had to, like, bend the spine on this book, and I felt really bad about it because it's a library book. But it's like, I could barely read it, and you'd have to, like, get way over, and yeah. And I actually looked this book up in our system to see, like, how many times it had been checked out, and it had only been checked out 1 other time before me, and we've had this book since 2015, and I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, people pick it up and they start looking through it and they're like, I can't even read the sentences, and then they don't check it out, because it's not a very well-made book. It's like, it almost seems like the glue of the book is like glued on the pages instead of it being glued on the spine. So yeah, I mean, I don't recommend this particular edition. Even if you want to pick up this book, I would not recommend this edition. And this edition is made by Paw Prints. So yeah, if you're ever looking at this book and it's by Paw Prints, don't pick it up. Yeah, because overall, kind of okay, so, you know, not great, not anything to write home about, but okay. So yeah, those are the last 2 books I read in February, and now I have a great, you know, I just posted my TBR, so y'all have seen that. But yeah, I have a great reading month planned for March, and I'm excited about the books I have picked out. And I hope everybody's having a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!